Television and Parliament Radio. You're now watching and listening to Security Corner, a program that looks at the mandate of the Zambia Police Service. My name is Paulson Tindovi. Later on, I shall open the phone lines where I'll be able to interact with the guests that I'm yet to introduce. And I should also make mention that my sign language interpreter for today is Chola Kauma. Today, we look at offenses emanating from laws of succession. My guest on the program is the Zambia Police Service Assistant Public Relations Officer, and this is Mr. Godfrey Chilabi. Sir, thank you so much for finding time and be with us on Parliament Television and Parliament Radio. How is the Zambia Police Service?
No, thank you very much, Percent, and good morning to our dear viewers. It's good to be here once more. At Zambia Police Service, we are okay, both, internally and externally. Internally, a number of issues going on. As I'm speaking, our commanders are somewhere in Kafue. There's, a commander's capacity building program going on. So all this is being done in order to enhance, capacity and ability within our commanders. Externally, so far so good. Of course, we have one or two reports out there, but that's normal, in policing. You cannot have a totally a quiet situation. Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's look at the 7 days, the past 7 days, how the Zambia Police has fared. And I should also make mention, last week we had a very successful topic, and quite a number of text messages came in, and people requesting for a personal line. I think they would want to interact with you, engage you at that personal level. But today we've shifted our attention. We look at offenses emanating from the law of succession. But like we always do it, let's look at what has transpired in the past 7 days. There are some incidences that were recorded. Investigations are going on in the alleged case of theft, which was reported by 2 employees of a company called Shopping Mall Limited. Maybe just give us a brief details.
Yeah, thank you so much. We received that report from employees, who can call them informers, from that company or business entity called the Shopping Mall. That was located in Lusaka. So we studied investigations into that, of course having checked with relevant statutory institutions that regulate existence of business entity or corporate entities. So we studied investigations, and indeed we established a prima facie offense, that of theft. What used to happen was that people were engaged, to act more or less like agents, and then later on, in terms of property, real estate. And in that case, we discovered that a number of people were swindled into that. I may not go further into details. It's a matter that is actively being investigated as at now. Once we finish our investigations, the public shall be informed on that.
The other case happened in Kafue, the apprehension of 2 people for alleged defilement.
Yes, that report came as that of alleged abduction of young girls. 5 girls were alleged to have been abducted. That's how the report came, by some men in Kafue, and these girls were aged between 11 and 15. It was reported earlier on that the girls were abducted somewhere in Kafue Estate. So, and as we received that report, there was something trending as well online, saying there was a case of abduction in Kafue. And after that, we started investigations %. Indeed, what we found was that it wasn't really the case of abduction, but it was a case of child defilement. The girls are reportedly to be were living their parents, or guardians' places or homes. Then they would go to that place where the suspects would have carnal knowledge with these young girls. We apprehended 2 who are in custody, and the other 3, a manhunt has been launched, and the girls are being attended to, by stakeholders. We issued medical report forms, so it's a matter that we are still, we are compiling now. Anytime this matter will be in court.
There is sad news that is coming from Southern Province, Livingston to be specific, where 2 bodies were found in an unrunner vehicle at David Livingstone School of Education. Maybe just a bit of details. I know we've heard from the news, but from
a very disturbing, a report involving two minors, I think aged 4 and then the other one 5, who were found, dead in a vehicle parked, a stationary motor vehicle. They were naked and they were bleeding as well. The children were reported missing and then later on found in that vehicle. It was something quite disturbing, when you look at the age, very innocent children. So investigations as well have been launched. Postmortem has to be conducted and establish the root cause, what happened, and bring the culprits, if anything.
Do you suspect foul play? Because
so far,
that
from what we saw
in Western Province,
exactly, so
where 2 kids were found dead in an unrunner.
Sesheke, that should be Sesheke. I think Sesheke or Senanga, one of the two. Yeah, indeed. Of course, we suspect of foul play into those deaths by percent. So of course, that case will be investigated to the latter.
There was a body that was found along Esther Lungu Road here in Lusaka, just behind, just before Lilai Police. Any details regarding the body that was found along, a dead body that was found along that road, Esther Lungu Road, just before Lilai?
Exactly, percent. Indeed, it's a matter that we received as well as Zambia Police Service. We received a report that there was a body lying there. And efforts to trace the relatives being done, and a post-mortem will be conducted as well in order to establish that. Quickly, person, there was also another incident, disturbing incident, that old man in Cherenge, the one who was stoned to death by the mob on suspicion that he was practicing witchcraft. A very sad incident, a percent. We moved in as police, arrested 10 suspects, and amongst the 10 suspects that we have, 6 are females, a percent. Very sad incident. And this is a thing that we always talk about as police. This, I don't know, we don't know where these cultures come from, where, the elderly, the senior citizens are being targeted in communities on suspicions that they're the ones causing death, through witchcraft. We have had a number of such cases spread from Chinga and, southern province as well. We need to, I think, stop this vice. We don't have to endanger the lives of our elderly.
There is an incident in Zambia, to be precise, the issue to do with bestiality. Maybe a bit of details on that case.
Oh yes, we charged a man, I think from Zambia, for the offense of bestiality. Bestiality happens when someone has carnal knowledge of an animal. A goat was reported missing, at this village, and then villagers started tracing, using footprints of the suspects. The person who could have been behind that, because the goat was tied, to a tree. And this led to these citizens or members of the public to a certain house where they found this man. And they checked around, this man was apprehended, the goat was found dead. And, of course, there were preliminary investigations, indicators that indeed this person had carnal knowledge of a goat. Post-mortem was conducted. Human semen was found in the private, parts of organs of the goat, reproductive organs of the goat, percent. So this man has been charged for bestiality, and he will appear in court very soon.
This is Security Corner, and we are looking at offences emanating from the laws of succession, and we've just been recapping the week, how the Zambia police has fared in the past 7 days. Let's shift our attention. And before we do that, I should also encourage our viewers and listeners out there that the number that we'll be using if you wish to take part on today's program is 07728322122. That's 077283212. You can also make use of our SMS facility, is 0978772801. My guest is Mr. Godfrey Chilabi, who is Assistant Public Relations Officer from the Zambia Police Service. Let's look at the law of succession before we dissect this topic. What does it stipulate?
Thank you so much, Percent. We're talking about succession here. Succeeding what? Who in this case. When we are here, living on earth, percent, I must mention that we acquire property, right? It's either a house, a car, other assets and liabilities as well. So we acquire this, and we are not here on earth permanently, percent. Time comes when we say bye to this mother earth. So the question is, what happens to the property, that we acquire? It was last week, percent, we're talking about marital property, personal property. So all that is property. It could be a house, a farm, any asset. Real estates, for instance, that a person may have. And when this person dies, of course, someone has to succeed, the ownership or the possession of that property. So this is where now, ownership comes in. Now, there are two scenarios here, a percent. There's scenario A, where this person has died, leaving an agreement or leaving instructions on what should be done with the property that they have left behind. You are there, you are buried 6 feet down, you've left this property. So there are those that would leave instructions on what should be done to the property that they have left behind.
In simple terms, a will.
A will in that case. So we call this kind of succession percent as tested succession. Someone has left an agreement, someone has left a covenant on what should be done to the property, to the assets that they have left behind. Then the other situation or scenario B is where this person just goes like that, leaving all the massive assets that they have without leaving any instructions on what should be done, who should administer the property. This person just goes like that. My brothers will say, or someone has gone, and then he leaves this property behind. So we call that as intestate succession. There's no covenant. Someone has just gone. This person has just died. So these are the two key pieces of laws of succession. Intestate succession, where someone has not left a will, and tested succession, where the deceased has left a will.
Let's talk about the tested succession. There are instances whereby we've acquired this property together with my wife.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a 50-50 kind of contribution in terms of the success, the properties that we've acquired as a couple. Then I leave a will without the consent of my wife. Then I give it to my lawyer. Then I die. What happens to my wife? Maybe haven't been fair in the way that I've distributed the property that we've acquired.
Yes, indeed. Of course, percent information should be limited to the beneficiary, of that will, in this case your wife. You may go to the extent of saying, yes, I've left a will, but not giving more details or divulging more information on the details or whereabouts or maybe anything concerning the will. So in that case, you share the property the way you do want it to be. But there is, when we follow the Tested Succession Act, there's a provision where it says the principle under which this piece of legislation shall apply. There's a principle of a fairness, equity and fairness in this case. Yes. So she may contest, or they may contest, if you say maybe percent you've left 10 farms, 100 vehicles, the businesses and everything, and then you just say the surviving spouse or my wife will not gain anything from it. Of course, I don't think that will be workable. It's against the principle of fairness or equity in that case. So that may be contested. It may be even declared null and void, depending on circumstances.
The number that we are using if you wish to take part on today's Security Corner is 07728322122. The text line is 0978 772801. My guest on the program is Mr. Godfrey Chelavi, who is Assistant Public Relations Officer from the Zambia Police Service. Better still, you can also like our Facebook page and let us know where you're watching us from. We do have somebody on the line. Make sure that you reduce the volume on your television or radio set. before you call us, so this we can communicate easily. You're live. Good morning, and where are you calling us from?
Solwezi, Douglas.
Ms. Douglas, all the way from Solwezi. We do have Mr. Chilabi here, and we're looking at offenses emanating from laws of succession. Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, but my question is away from what you're discussing. I just wanted to find out if you go to police, if certification of papers, do I have to pay or it's free?
All right, thank you so much, Douglas. I'm sure Mr. Chilabi will be able to respond to you, and that's the reason why we do have this platform. The number that we're using, we get a set of 3 questions or callers, and then Mr. Chilabi will be able to respond to your question or contribution. It's 07728322122 or 09787278801. We do have somebody on the line. You're live on Security Corner. Your name and where you're calling us from? Kindly reduce the volume on your radio set. Once we get feedback, we'll definitely drop that call, so at least we can accommodate as many calls as we can. We do have somebody on the line. You're live on Security Corner. Your name and where are you calling us from? Hello, good morning. Your name and where are you calling us from? All right, we've lost that caller. The number is 07728322122, and the text line is 0978772801. So we're talking about types of, but before you respond to the caller, let's accommodate another caller. You're live. Good morning, and where are you calling us from?
Good morning, sir. This is Mr. Zimba calling from Linda within Lusaka.
Mr. Zimba from within Lusaka, go ahead with your contribution. Mr. Chilabi is here for you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Oh, good morning, sir.
Morning, thank you, Mr. Zimba.
Yes. I would like to find out which, if someone maybe has default someone, how long would someone to Afrikankara a police station? Then the other question is that a police station by too much collapse to as Zambian citizens kufunga tachitabonis. Ero futhi nifuna kufa number naye mwe bachibaliso bathi police so that pass more details about this because there's a police station to my collapse.
All right, Mr. Zimba, send us your question, that question, and send it to 0978772801. We'll be able to retrieve that number, and I'll share with Mr. Chilabi, so at least he can get in touch with you. Make sure that you make use of the SMS facility, and once you put your name there, I'll be able to retrieve your contact details and share with Mr. Chilabi, and he'll be, I'm sure, of help. All right, let's see if we don't have somebody again on the line, and then later on, Mr. Chilabi will respond to those concerns. You're live. Good morning, and where are you calling us from? Reduce the volume on your radio set or television. That's the only way we'll be able to communicate. I'm sure my director will drop that call for easy for us to proceed and accommodate another caller, because you're not following the instructions. Reduce the volume on your television or radio set and call us. That's the only way we'll be able to communicate. Let's see if we can accommodate another caller. You're live. Good morning, and where are you calling us from?
Hi, good morning. This is Lukonde. I'm calling you from Rockfield in Lusaka here.
Mr. Lukonde, all the way from Rockville. Your contribution, sir, this morning.
My contribution is actually a question. Okay, there are 2 things. First, it's a question. If you write a will and you exclude maybe 2 who are very troublesome children, and then you just, if for instance, you've got 4 children, so you write all these things are for my 2 children, with this one and this one. But for as long as my wife is alive, she's in charge and makes decisions. Then you say these things, their partners or their wife, husbands or their spouses won't be part of it and that kind of thing. But my wife will definitely be in charge, and no, they should not claim anything until maybe that time comes.
Okay.
Then secondly, the Zambia police, I'm talking to you, I don't know if you're assistant superintendent or whatever rank boss you are.
Superintendent.
I'd like to say that there's so much crime around. Why don't you sometimes think of recalling some veterans You know, Zambia police had serious veterans, which used to call Lima Ops. I don't know if you're there in the times of the mid-70s. They contained crime very, very well. Or maybe, for some reason, try and get them and seek advice, because really, they really cracked crime in Lusaka, you know, without any jokes. Thank you very much, boss. Have a nice day.
I appreciate Mr. Lukonde for your contribution. Maybe quickly you can respond to
Yes.
the first caller talked about
Yeah.
corruption and quite a number of issues were raised there.
Yeah, Mr. Douglas, should you pay for certification of documents at a police station? Yes, you know, it's a prescribed fee. You have to pay a prescribed fee whenever you're certifying a document at a police station. And what is important is that you must, you know, be given a receipt, general receipt, after making
How much
that
is
payment.
certification fee?
Yeah,
for the
it's
sake of our listeners and viewers.
Exactly. Person, we follow what we call as a unit fine, unit fees. So our certification, for instance, it's about 20 kwacha, somewhere there around 20 kwacha, if we follow the revised
And the paper is
fee and the
available?
Like. Oh yes, yes, you'll find
now
the
it's
paper.
available.
Yeah. So it's not free. Mr. Douglas, defilement. For how long should one or suspect be in police custody? Yeah. Of course, it doesn't matter what offense one has committed. It should be within at least 48 hours. But there are some factors, a percent, that may make one be in custody for a period longer than that. Nature of the offense, for instance, is this offense bondable? And when we talk about defilement, there are what we call forensic evidence that we need to gather, compile. Yeah, in this year, okay. So in this case, we rely on our colleagues from the health, sector, gynecologists, to be specific. You know, how long will these results take? What kind of tests are they trying to do on the victim? And for instance, all those factors. Okay. So it may go longer than that. But I must mention that it's bondable. A lot of people ask, is defilement bondable? Yes, defilement is bondable. But we look at circumstances beyond that. And then if we see that, detention will be longer than, stipulated, of course, we will obtain a warrant to have that person in custody longer than the stipulated time.
Okay.
Yeah.
The issue where this person can do, if he discovers that the police station where he or she wants to report a case,
quickly,
suspected corruption,
the officer in charge is there. Okay, you'll see the officer. If it's the officer in charge himself, the officer commanding of the district. But I don't think the officer in charge will think solo and then engage themselves into such issues. So it's the officer in charge, or the officer commanding of the district, or the provincial commanding officer of that province. Okay. So if you feel that there's no police officer who will be able to attend to you, there are other, oversight institutions, Police Public Complaints Commission, Anti-Corruption Commission, Human Rights. So there are various, institutions where one can go other than the police to lodge their complaint, if there will be complaint.
There was a call from Zimba as well.
Yeah, Mr. Zimba, Mr. Mzimba is that of defilement. Then we also had Mr. Lukonde. If one maybe say you exclude children, you have 4 children and then 2 are excluded from the will. There are factors. How old are these children to start with? Is it someone who is independent and they are working, they are CEOs somewhere? Because they are also children. All right? They have been left, are they able to fend for themselves? But if you say maybe they are children aged 8 and the other one's 16, how are they going maybe to fend for themselves in this case? How are they going to ensure that, they have basic needs of life? So they may contest, under that principle of equity. It's always important. We need to take that into consideration. Then the issue of crime. Why don't we call maybe former officers? Once a police officer, always a police officer. There are certain times, persons that we extend a hand to our colleagues that have left the system, all right, and then maybe brainstorm. Okay, it could be an operation. How did you manage this operation? We had crime in Makeni, maybe 1970s, 60s. Who were there at that time? Let's brainstorm. So we always engage each other.
So the current situation does not call for that for now.
No. Percent, when it comes to crime prevention, it's a collective
Because
responsibility.
he talked about the high levels of crime in Lusaka. So him is suggesting that you take that route. So my question is, does it call for that? Have we reached that extent where you need to call the ex-officers to help policing the city of Lusaka?
Crime prevention is a collective responsibility. We can even extend it to the residents for themselves in that area. Why do you think crime is so high? What's that we can do? So anyone, as police, we can approach any person who might be concerned or maybe affected by that situation. So we do interact with some of our colleagues. And there are also, we have a library where we refer to, all right? How did we manage maybe capturing a Chandasilia in this case, all right? The ninjas in Mtendere, we have kept that information, you know. Talk about Chilala, Myron Brothers, okay? Talk about, you know, the likes of, you know, Roy Mudenda, you know, Strangler, and all those others. We have kept that in, and we, time and again, we refer to such situations, and if at all they can be applied to this situation.
Let's look at some of the common crimes that are related to the succession.
Indeed, thank you so much, Percent. So quickly, we talked about the laws of exactly. There are also, you know, intestate succession, you know, act where one has not left a will. So if you've not left a will, this is where now the Intestate Succession Act will come in. I'm sure you've heard about those percentages, you know, on the assets, how the assets should be shared, you know. So intestate succession, the first thing that has to be done is an administrator to be appointed. So this is a person that will oversee the estates of the deceased. And when it comes to estates, this is where, as I said, there are those percentages, 10% for the dependents. And talking about the dependents percent, there's this misperception that we have that a dependent is that person, it's only that person who was staying with the deceased at the time that they died. It's not like that only. It also includes that person who depended on the deceased in terms of their education. So I can be here, I'm supporting my sister's child or boy, a minor in Mukushi, percent. I die today. That boy may be considered to be a dependent. Then there are also parents. Parents, it also includes percent, those people that contributed to the education of the deceased person. So usually we just think that a parent is this person who physically brought the deceased on earth. No. It could maybe the biological parents died when this person was aged 2, and he was brought up by the grandmother or the uncle.
But how can
you
prove that if you don't have any record of saying these are the people that contributed to his or her education? Because they are normal, and there are no documents. There's no proof to show that indeed these people contributed and they deserve a certain percentage.
This information is kept within families. Within our families, we know who raised who and who did what to that person. So, of course, other people will come in and say, no, the deceased actually, the biological parents died when he was 5. He died as a CEO, age 52, and the person who contributed to his well-being is our uncle who is at the village. So that one may assume the role of a parent, 20%. Then surviving spouse. Surviving spouse is, and the maximum person that is surviving spouse, not surviving wife. No. Surviving spouse. So surviving spouse may be husband or wife in this case. It's 20%. So only 4 beneficiaries: dependents, children, and children includes those that were born outside the wedlock. That one was conceived, but not yet born. Conceived, you know, by the deceased, or not yet born. Of course, that one who was born outside wedlock. Now, there is a situation here, percent, where we receive a lot of complaints. Maybe the deceased, at the time the deceased married this surviving spouse, the surviving spouse came with a son, maybe a boy. I married today, and then this lady comes with a boy. Okay? I'm not the biological father. And then I die. So how is this boy going to be considered if maybe I die intestate? So that boy may be a dependent. And then those that we have together in marriage will be considered as children. So we always emphasize that, please, let's say, authenticate or maybe legitimize those children that come
Let
with the
me
spouses
take you
before
back.
that.
What if in a situation whereby I have kids before I marry this woman?
Yeah.
And maybe those kids are staying with their mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I die. Are they my children or they are dependent?
They are your children in this case. As the deceased person, as the father, those are your children. %.
Let's accommodate some few calls on the number that you seeing on the screen, and for the sake of people that are following us through on radio, it's 09077283222 and 0978772801. That's our text line. You're live. Good morning, and thank you so much for calling us. This is Security Corner. Your name and where you're calling us from? Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
I'm David.
Kindly speak up, sir.
Yes, I'm David from Kush.
From Mukushi. I didn't get your name.
Yeah.
Your name again?
I'm David calling from Kush.
Mr. David from Mukushi. Go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Yeah, I think the way we can fight this offenses, maybe the police wangaperekwa ma-call center agents so that at least tingavauza very chifika ma-areas enamwenamwe other than kuendekeza kuti vantu vachipesani sisi vakabvagwera kuna call center monga vamene vanatipira varati so at least we can work together naisha vantu vamukomboni so avo vachiravi avo I think vangatitandizeko maybe neniona monga sangana na call center ingatitandizeko.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, it's kind lamulo ni lamulo mwaona so vantu vakona lamulo because kuri be maybe vabena wao petikati wa polisi wawaziva maningi waziva nzao vamwera pamoja muvasikachani so at least vetikabata petikako na call center at least tungaendeka bwisi.
Thank you so much, David, for your contribution. I'm sure Mr. Chilav is following those proposals that you're making. Let's accommodate another caller. We'll get a set of 3, and then Mr. Chilav will respond, and we'll wind up today's presentation of Security Corner. It's 07728322122. You're live. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
You're live. Good morning.
Kindly reduce the volume on your radio set. We'll drop.
Hello, good morning.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Kindly do us a favor by turning down the volume on your gadget.
Yes, the TV set is off.
Your name and where you're calling us from? If that's much
Morning.
better now.
Morning, thank you.
Morning, person.
Morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yeah, I'm Davis calling from Kitwe.
Mr. Davis, how is Kitwe this morning? And proceed with your contribution.
Yes, person. Actually, my contribution this morning is a matter of, it's an urgent matter of public concern.
Okay.
Yes, looking at the Tokota boys, which were recently released from prison. It's like they've regrouping themselves now. They've started regrouping themselves to start terrorizing people in Kitwe.
Okay.
Yes, so now would like to find out from the superintendent whether they've got some intentions of providing more security, more especially in Kitwe and Kana, looking at the period since we are towards the festival season. Thank you.
So Davis, appreciate for your contribution, and let's accommodate another caller on 077283212, and the text line is 0978772801. We do have somebody on the line. You're live on Security Corner. Your name and where are you calling us from? Kindly turn down the volume on your gadget.
Hi, good morning.
Your name, sir?
My name is Mokonde once more.
Mr. Mukonde, just be brief with your contribution this time around.
Yes, please. I was just trying to find out. I wanted to be very, very clear on the dependents.
Okay.
If at all you die interstate without a will, if the children who are 34 and 35 years old, are they also considered as children in that particular instance? That's question number one.
Mm-hmm.
Question number two is addressed to you, Superintendent. Sorry, when I called you earlier on, I did not see your rank, so I just joined earlier, so my apologies. Huh?
No, it's fine, thanks.
Yeah, so Superintendent, sir, if you are if you are on a mission, for instance, a patrol in an area as a neighborhood watch,
Mm-hmm.
and then amongst you have got a new recruit who has just graduated from Nilai.
Mm-hmm.
Then now you are looking for these criminals that used to be in the area where the famous 14 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's a young lady, a fresh graduate from Nilai, is holding an alpha kilo in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
She's seeing the target quite all right. She says, boss, I can't handle this machine. She's trying to hand over to you the machine. Then you say, me, I'm no longer in the service. I'm degazetted. Is it in order to have accepted to handle Alpha Kilo and work with the target? That's the end of my question, boss. Thank you.
Mr. Lukonde, seems like you were in the service a long time ago. We appreciate for those terminologies that we're learning.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Thanks so much, Mr. Lukonde.
Maybe let's begin with Davis, the Tokota boys on the Copper Belt.
Yeah.
We've heard them being praised in songs from the Copper Belt.
Yes.
They were arrested,
indeed.
sentenced. Now they're back, and again they've regrouped.
Yeah. If at all they have, regrouped, it's something that we need to follow. That's the information that we need as police, so that quickly we intervene. If at all these are suspicious activities from both those boys, when they, as they are back there in the communities, bring that information to the officer in charge, or take that information to the officer in charge, or the CIO of the police station. Mm-hmm. Of course, in privacy, we appreciate when you give us that information. There are measures that we put in place to ensure that, we put surveillance and then monitor them accordingly. Then there was also a gentleman from Mukushi.
That's Davis.
Davis, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But Davis number...
No, David,
yes. It's 9010. Just call 9010. All right? 9010, 9010. Toll-free line.
How effective are toll-free lines, Mr. Chelavi?
They are free, except that, these lines mostly are congested people and and others tend up to abuse
for you
them.
To have a customer service, like a call center.
Yeah. With the oncoming of the command center, yes, a percent that has come with improved services when it comes to getting in touch with members of the public. But it should not only depend on this line as well. In case maybe the line is quite engaged, there are so many people, the traffic is so high.
In most of
yes, and this is as a result of people abusing these lines. Someone will just call, "Bwana, kuno tule corona to paint a black table." It's munweko. At the expense of this person. Oh yes, a lot actually. Others even insults, insulting police officers. Hello, this is emergency, and then someone use unparatables. So these are some of the encounters that we receive from people. Then members of the public, you are also free to approach the officer in charge of the police station. But officer in charge, other than number, do we have any number that we can use? Stations are free. They can come up with their own numbers. Percent, there are those, they will just buy this small phone, 200 kwacha and the SIM card there. And that's the number that the community is using whenever we have these emergencies. So you are free as well to approach the officer in charge if at all there are any other numbers. That's the most important thing that we need to remember.
Mr. Lukonde,
Mr. Lukonde, yes, let's take note. I need to emphasize on this. Please, a dependent does not only include that person who was staying or living with the deceased person at the time that the deceased died. It also includes that person who dependent, on the deceased when it comes to their educational related issues. Then with children, there's no age if we follow the Interstate Succession Act. Person said that my father is not here, my father died, I would have been, a child as well. All right, considered to be a child. So it doesn't matter when the deceased has died. The youngest is 6 months. The oldest is 55. Both of them are children. The last born who is 6 months and the oldest who is 60. Both of them are children under the Interstate Succession Act.
Okay.
So, but when it comes to sharing, that 50%, there are special considerations that you need to take into consideration. Okay, age, vulnerability, all those other considerations have to be made as you share
The issue to do with the recruit?
The recruit, unfortunately, for the recruit, for us to send them in the field after initial police training, we know that they're able to handle such situations. So we don't expect that the officer to surrender the AK-47 rifle to the neighborhood watch member, say, can you shoot? All right, neighborhood watch members are not allowed to handle guns whenever we are patrolling. Unless maybe we say the officer has been shot down, shot dead, or maybe wounded, and then, there are no any other means that we can do. These people have to defend themselves. A member may pick that gun and maybe fire back in self-defense. Otherwise, we don't expect an officer to surrender the firearm to that.
All right, maybe we can accommodate one call as we wind up today's program, and also have it in mind, Mr. Chilavi, how we can identify such crimes.
Exactly.
Let's accommodate our last caller this morning. You're live on Security Corner, and your last caller, just be brief with your question or contribution. Tell us your name. Your name, please.
Hello, I'm Zimba, I'm back again.
Your name again?
I'm Zimba, I'm back with them.
Mr. Zimba, just be brief with your question. You're our last caller now.
Alright, come bwana. Nifuna kufunza these days bwana yapezeka kuti most ma musicians dressing code yao pama video ye vamachosa vamachosa chabe naked manje mwa police mankala mu chitapo bwanji kairi vapezeka vaononga vana in terms of dressing code. Then futhi nangu nangani ma procedures bwanji ye ufuna kuti atiwe muntu if you want to be enabled police.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zimba. All right, I thought you would relate it to, I don't know if I can call it abusing your uniform in most videos, and others garnishing guns, and is that permissible?
No, it's something that we regulate. This uniform, it's something that is unique, percent. It's well regulated. Okay. We don't just wear a uniform and do whatever you can.
But why are we seeing
well
regulated people that are abusing your uniform?
Yeah,
even in acting now.
In acting, and in fact, it's an area where we're emphasizing so much. Some people would, right? Maybe it could be actors would like someone to play a role of a police officer, and then what they portray is different from our ethics as police officers. They defy the do's and don'ts of a police officer when in uniform, and it's something that we are considering now.
All right, they quickly respond to the caller, the one that has just called as we wind up.
Okay, that was it about the, is it Mr. Zimba?
Yeah, Mr. Zimba, the last caller.
I've forgotten the question, person.
He talked about, I've also been...
Neighborhood, what it takes to be a neighborhood watch.
Yes,
of course.
Even music.
And music as well, it depends.
Morals.
Yeah, we looked at the intention of doing that, is it corrupting morals or what? It's something that we follow accordingly. So, these are the 2 laws of succession, and it's important. Let's make a choice, okay? Should you just go like that, leaving confusions behind? There are offenses if one has died intestate, for instance. Depriving beneficiaries of their entitlement. It's most of the common offenses, then, considering that. And also, if one has left a will, the most prominent offenses that come out of there is forgery. Okay. Someone has forged and uttered the document that this is what he wanted to do or not. So these are the most offenses that come out when it comes to...
Mr. Chavi, it's always a pleasure having you on Security Corner, and wishing you all the best as you continue executing your mandate as Zambia Police Service.
Thanks so much. The pleasure is mine.
My guest on today's program was Mr. Godfrey Chilavi, who is Zambia Police Assistant Public Relations Officer, and we looked at laws or offenses emanating from the laws of succession. My sign language interpreter for today has been Chola Kauma. My name is Paulson Tindovi. We'll be back next week as we look at yet another interesting topic on Security Corner. On behalf of the entire production crew, and indeed not forgetting you, our viewers and our listeners, we're saying thank you so much, and continue watching and listening to Parliament.
no other way of the forces of patriotism succeeding in society without those in the leadership living in such a way as to be patriotic themselves. If leaders are not patriotic, nobody else will learn how to do good things towards fellow human beings. If you're not a patriot, if you don't develop spirit of patriotism in life, then you are destroying the nation as a whole. So patriotism really is a force that brings out success in any situation. Patriotism is very key in terms of human beings living together, human beings working together, human beings developing things together. Without that spirit of patriotism, we can't go very far. All words have meaning to the nation. Stand and sing of Zambia, proud and free. It must be taught to all our young people, to all our people in Zambia, each in various languages, and in those languages, the meaning of those words is the same. The same. Let the people understand exactly why they sing what they do. Each tribe wants to live on its own, want to be on its own. They don't look to others as also fellow human beings, God's children at all. They get divided, they begin fighting, they begin destroying each other across tribes. So it is a very dangerous group of human beings on earth, not only in Zambia, all over the world, where people are divided according to tribes. We saw that if we did not bring up the importance of our nation, we'll be a divided people. A divided people meaning we cannot live together. We'll be fighting each other across tribes. To destroy that, we say we build this one Zambia, one nation approach, looking at tribes not as a way of life, but nation as a way of life. So we're going to one Zambia, one nation. One Zambia, one nation. One Zambia, one nation. We've built up in a very strong way. So today, those 73 tribes of Zambia are very united. Very united. Yes, there will be some people who are still weak in looking at tribes as their way of life. All of us as tribes got to come together to build one Zambia, one nation. It's time for us to really thank God, first of all, our Creator, who has guided us in this wonderful way. It's time for us to look across the nation and see how different people from different tribes have stood together. They have stood together, children of one Creator, God our Creator.